Bet horse racing on DRF Bets. We'll match your first deposit of $200. Get free expert picks and past performances, plus weekly cash back. All from Daily Racing Form, the most trusted name in horse racing. Dan Illman here, taking a look at race number 9 at Santa Anita on Friday. It is the $100,000 Blue Northern Stakes. 2-year-old fillies going 1 mile on the turf. Let's take a look at this field. The number 1, Showgirl Lynn B, is a scratch. 12, The Best Is Yet to Be, and also eligible on your early past performances, gets into the body of this race. We'll throw up the Timeform US Pace Projector for the Blue Norther, and the number 2, Naughty Lottie, trying turf for the first time, stretching back out to a route. I agree with Timeform US. I think from the inside post, Kent DeZormo is going to use this filly's speed. She was fast enough to make the lead in the Grade 2 Chandelier at a big price before faltering when it counted. It's all about surface and class for Naughty Lottie. She is stepping up in distance. She is stepping up in class. Her sire, Midnight Loot, is okay on turf. The Dam won on the turf, but there's just not enough turf in the pedigree to make me think that perhaps Midnight Lottie's going to handle the surface. We take a deeper look at her right now. She was stakes placed at Prairie Meadows 3 starts back before being overmatched in the Chandelier, and last time out they cut her back to 7/8 of a mile, where she pushed a fast pace before understandably paying the price. Maybe she won't have to go as fast in the early portion of this race, but it's still a stern test. Ragtime Rose is the number 3, a maiden winner 2 starts back. She was stretched out for the first time in the Jimmy Durante. She was saddled with a very difficult outside post position, and she didn't exactly have the cleanest trip for an inexperienced filly only making her 3rd lifetime start. She drew much better for this race, and I think she's all upside. She earned a decent enough figure 2 starts back for a lightly raced 2-year-old. Remember, these 2-year-olds, they can improve by leaps and bounds from day to day, so I'm not going to take too much stock into the buyers right now. Ragtime Rose showed some professionalism in winning that sprint at Santa Anita 2 starts back. A little trouble last time out. Maybe you can give her the benefit of the doubt. She's a horse you might want to consider in your single race exotics underneath, at the very least. Decorated My Life is up next. We're going to watch Decorated My Life's most recent race. She finished ahead of 3 of these rivals in her North American debut, the Jimmy Durante. This pace was very fast early. They went the first quarter in 22-2. Decorated My Life, like many European horses, was a bit slow to get into gear, but she benefited, I think, from that fast pace, and she came with a good run to finish second. Promising enough performance for Decorated My Life, especially considering she was stretching out for the first time in her life, and she showed that a mile is well within her scope. Now, she might not get that sort of razor-sharp, fast pace that she received last time out in the Jimmy Durante, but she showed a lot of promise for trainer Simon Callahan, and is another horse with a lot of upside potential. Decorated My Life's going to be running in the lane. G. Laurie is the number 5, and for a lightly raced filly, she's had a little bit of bad luck. She won her career debut, and that's not really Graham Motion's MO, winning first time out. He usually gives them a race or 2 before they strut their best stuff. G. Laurie was ready to fire. Graham found a great spot, and that was at Colonial Downs, going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. G. Laurie won that race. It propelled her to a start in the Natalma, a Grade 1 at Woodbine, and an important prep race for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. We watched the stretch run of the Natalma. G. Laurie was stymied. She was in between and in and among on the turn and in upper stretch, and finally, when she gets clear, she's running on at the end. She finishes a good 3rd. She was entered in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. She spiked a temperature the day before the race and was forced to scratch. So Motion has had to regroup. It's now been a couple of months since her most recent start. She's getting blinkers, however, for the first time. And as we talked about in the Eddie Logan Stakes preview, where Motion has Najarak, he's had a great deal of success shipping horses to the West Coast. G. Laurie, another horse that I think will show a little bit more early interest and focus with the addition of blinkers. I think the ability's there for this filly. Manhattan Jungle did run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf. She showed good speed. It was her first time going a round of ground after several sprint races overseas, and she showed good speed, and she actually had the lead in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf at 80-1 at the 3/16 pole, and she tired very badly in the stretch. Manhattan Jungle, the distance might have saw her out that day. Maybe the class of competition saw her out. She should show some speed in this race under Johnny Velazquez.
she still has to prove to me that a mile is going to be her game. Broadway Girls is up next. Recent maiden winner, liked what she did. This is her first time going 2 turns, and I think she's found what she wants to do. She set a pretty legitimate early pace here. They went 22-3 for the opening quarter. Broadway Girls was able to shake loose and get a breather on the backstretch, but she sprints on home, and I thought this was a pretty eye-catching stretch run for Broadway Girls, considering it was her first time going 2 turns. She could be forwardly placed once again, and I think that's really key for her. I think she has to try to get close to the pace. She's shown that sort of speed in both of her races on turf. Tea and Conversation, like Broadway Girls, is coming into this race off of a maiden special weight victory at Del Mar going a mile. Tea and Conversation did it, however, from off of the pace. I thought this was a very professional performance. She earned an 80 by her speed figure, very respectable for this level of horse. This race might not knock your socks off, but she did come from out of it. She made a 3-wide bid turning for home, and she goes on about her business in the stretch. Now, she has slowly taken steps forward in her last few races with blinkers. The last race was a breakout performance, and she might be a pretty decent price stepping up out of the maiden special weight ranks. I would not give short shrift to Tea in Conversation. Spanning the Globe is next. She last raced at Golden Gate Fields in her second lifetime start. She made her debut on turf in a maiden claimer at Santa Anita. She finished 5th after a little bit of a tough trip. This was her last race. This race, of course, over the Tapeta, and she was able to get a pretty good trip. It was a short field. She was able to save ground for most of the way. I like the way she finished it off, but this is a pretty big step up in class, and she's going to need a buyer boost against these. Only a 54 in that most recent start. Pleasant Wave will stretch out for the first time. Pleasant Wave should show some speed in here. She showed tactical speed to win this race, the maiden special, going 5/8 at Del Mar in her second lifetime start, and she was very game to win. This horse, I think, has a little bit of ability and a little bit of pedigree. She's a daughter of More Than Ready. I think she's going to be close to the pace under Mario Gutierrez, despite breaking from a relatively outside post position. Distance, a big question mark. Amy Please is up next. She ran in the Jimmy Durante last time out, and maybe you can give her a little bit of an excuse, because I thought that pace was very fast. Timeform US color codes those fractions red, indicating a fast pace, and Amy Please was carving out those fractions, and she only was beaten 2 lengths or so while finishing a decent 4th. It was a nice performance for Amy Please, who ran second in her prior start, a stakes race at Golden Gate Fields on the engine. Frankie Dettori might be able to sort of send her out of there from the outside post and try to grab the lead. Maybe she won't have to work as hard to get to the front in this spot. It's all about whether she does get an easy lead and how the number 2, a horse that should show speed inside of her, lets her go or not. The Best Is Yet to Be completes the field, 6th last time out in the Jimmy Durante. Again, didn't get off to an alert break. She showed way more tactical speed 2 starts back from the inside post. Like many horses based in Europe early in their careers, this horse has yet to show a lot of good gate speed. She's a little bit slow out of the box. Outside post, gonna have to work out some kind of a trip. I think she's hoping the 10 and the 11 break out of there. Flavian Pratt can sort of coast in, save as much ground as possible with a short run going into the first turn. Top pick time for me in the Blue Norther. I'm going to go with G. Laurie. I know she missed a little bit of time due to that illness before the Breeders' Cup. We saw the trouble she did have in the Natama where she was in behind horses. I think Graham's shown a lot of confidence in this filly. To have her ready to go first out, probably as a prep for the Natama. I think he was thinking Breeders' Cup all along with her, and I think this is a nice spot for her to get back to the winner's circle, shipping out to the West Coast. 5, 8, 6, 7 for me in the Blue Norther. It's one of 2 stakes at Santa Anita on Friday. Good luck.